let's talk about the workplace. Specifically, why it can so often feel less like a team and a whole lot more like a battlefield. The answer, you'll see, is probably not what you're thinking.
I mean, have you ever had that feeling? You look around a meeting room and you don't see colleagues, you see rivals. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. It's an incredibly common feeling, but the real reason for it is usually hiding in plain sight.
It's so easy to blame things on, that guy from accounting or just general office politics. But what if the real enemy isn't a person at all? What if it's something bigger? We're about to pull back the curtain on the true culprit.
Okay, so to really get to the bottom of this, we first have to look at the modern workplace for what it often is. A really high-stakes environment where, honestly, conflict is almost baked into the system. So let's start with the usual suspects, right? When we think about why we have enemies at work, a few pretty common things probably jump to mind immediately. On the surface, yeah, we see all the obvious stuff. We're fighting over that one promotion, we have major personality clashes with someone, or we feel like our job is on the line. And look, those things are absolutely real, but they're often just the symptoms of a much deeper, hidden problem. They aren't the disease itself.
And that brings us to the big reveal, the real aha moment. It's time to stop pointing fingers at the person in the next cubicle and start looking at the structure of the whole office.
Think about it like this. The problem often isn't the players, it's the game itself. A lot of corporate environments are actually designed in a way that forces people into these adversarial roles, whether they want to be in them or not.
This all boils down to a really important concept, the zero-sum environment. Put simply, it's any situation where for you to win, someone else has to lose. It's like there's one pie, and every extra slice you get is a slice someone else doesn't.
And you can really see the difference when you put them side by side. In that zero-sum system, you've got limited spots for promotions, which forces you into direct competition. Information isn't shared, it's hoarded, because it gives you an edge. And success? Well, it's literally defined by beating other people. But in a collaborative system, it's all about collective achievement. It's a huge difference. One system builds rivals, and the other builds partners.
And this gets cranked up to 11 by other systemic pressures. Things like forced ranking, sometimes called rank and yank, where managers literally have to label a certain percentage of their team as underperformers. It creates this brutal survival of the fittest culture. Then you throw in fierce competition for budgets or staff, plus a lack of clear communication from the top, and you've got a perfect recipe for mistrust and conflict. So we've established that the system itself can be designed for combat, but that still doesn't explain why it all feels so personal, so threatening. Well, the answer to that comes down to one simple word: proximity.
Just think about it for a second. Who has more power to mess up your life? An annoying neighbor or a rival coworker? A neighbor's influence pretty much stops at your fence, but a coworker? They're deeply woven into your professional world. They can impact your reputation, your career, your actual income. That proximity just raises the stakes to a whole other level.
Okay, so if competition and zero-sum systems are the problem, then the solution must be to just make everyone friends, right? Problem solved. Well, not so fast, because here's where the story takes a final, really fascinating twist.
It's what we all believe, isn't it? We assume that a team full of friends is just going to be more productive, more innovative. I mean, it just sounds right. But the data, well, the data tells a surprisingly different story. Get this. One study looked at 180 different teams, and it uncovered this wild pattern. Just like we'd expect, having some social bonds at the beginning absolutely improves a team's performance. But there's a tipping point. Once that team cohesion becomes excessive, performance actually starts to go down.
So why on earth does that happen? The answer is a classic psychological phenomenon called groupthink. When a team gets too chummy, the desire to maintain harmony can actually override good judgment. People stop challenging each other, new ideas get shot down, and pretty soon everyone's just nodding along to avoid rocking the boat.
So the real takeaway here is pretty clear. The goal isn't just to make friends at work. It's about building a culture of trust and respect where you can have healthy debate and you can bring in diverse ideas. The real goal is effective collaboration, and that is a much, much higher bar to clear.
And that brings us to the final question I want to leave you with. Take a hard look at your own job, your own team, and really ask yourself, is the system you're in built to help you work together? Or is it quietly, maybe even unintentionally, forcing you to fight? The answer to that question might completely change how you see your enemies tomorrow.